Oh, here I have my thing. Good evening, everyone. It is 7:02 on Monday, October the 9th, 2023, and we are meeting at Prairie Middle School. Welcome to all in attendance, and thank you for being here. We appreciate your interest in Cherry Creek Schools. Thank you for our setup crew, our tear down crew, our IT staff, our security, and our sheriff's office that I believe is here tonight as well. We appreciate you all being here to make sure that our meeting can run as planned. So if you are able, would you please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. On behalf of this board and the Cherry Creek School District, I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, Osheti people who stewarded it for generations. The Osheti includes 7 bands. So I would also like to recognize that over 40 additional tribal nations likely use this area for trade, ceremonies, and social gatherings. All right, at this time, may I have a motion to approve the agenda for the October 9th, 2023 regular Board of Education meeting?
I move to approve the agenda for the October 9th, 2023 regular Board of Education meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Thank you. May I have roll call, please?
Directors Allen,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Egan,
Aye.
Garland,
Aye.
McDonald.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. Now may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the September 11th, 2023 regular Board of Education meeting?
I move to approve the agenda for the September 8th. I move to approve the minutes for the September 8th special Board of Education meeting.
Sorry, you're right. I messed up. I said the 11th. I'm sorry. I needed a motion for the minutes from the September 8th, 2023 special Board of Education meeting.
I move to approve the minutes for the September 8th, 2023 special Board of Education meeting.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Directors Allen,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Egan,
Aye.
McDonald,
Aye.
Garland.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. Now may I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 11th, 2023 regular Board of Education meeting?
I move to approve the minutes for the September 11th, 2023 regular Board of Education meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Directors Allen,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Egan,
Aye.
Garland,
Aye.
McDonald.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes as well. All right. It is this time during our meeting that we hear comments from our Board of Education. Ms. McDonald, will you please begin this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Mrs. Bates. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to Mrs. Duran, our principal, and to everyone that is here tonight. I have been committed to Cherry Creek School District community for 40 plus years, having moved here in 1976. I don't know if this was planned or not, but I'm glad it happened because this is where I spent most of my employment time, right here at Prairie Middle School. However, tonight I find myself in a bittersweet position as my term is completed and this will be my very last Board of Education meeting. I heard about a movie once. I won't say I saw it because then you'll know how old I am. But I heard about a movie saying the long goodbye, talk about the long goodbye. I'll probably have a long goodbye because I think I started saying goodbye last year. However, I am certain that my successor will be very qualified and ready to continue to serve the students and constituents of District B the next 4 years and beyond if they so desire. In retrospect, I have been afforded the opportunity to serve 8 years, an opportunity, sounds like an echo, an opportunity that I haven't taken for granted. I truly believe to whom much has been given, much is required. I have been committed. When my 5 children came through the district, I wanted the best for them. Now my grandchildren, I want the best for them as well. But beyond my personal desires, I have truly wanted the best for all students. It has been my goal to serve with integrity and be accountable to my constituents. As I can say, and I can say of this present board, we have worked hard to give quality leadership, and I'm proud to be associated with these 4 women and the leadership of this district. There is a quote by John Ruskin that says, "Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution." All of the insight and experiences that I have gained the past 8 years has helped me personally and has helped me in my service to this district. Superintendent Smith, I certainly appreciate the strategic objectives, excellence for all, excellence for the future. I also consider the pathway of purpose necessary for our district. Enveloped in the plan are priorities to which we have been committed and supportive of. The plan for the future basis of literacy, health, and disproportionality serves to give our students, teachers, and staff the groundwork essential to creating and guaranteeing a proper climate suitable for improvement of student learning and growth. And speaking of teachers and staff, Cherry Creek School District professional teaching staff is recognized as one of the best in the state, with rigorous academics, unmatched athletics and activities. Cherry Creek School District has critical support and resources for all students. Our goals, and I do say our goals proudly, even though I'm leaving, I'm still a part of this community. Our goals will be achieved. Our students will thrive in a safe learning environment that will propel them to a successful future. My parting advice, though no one asked me, I'm going to give it anyway. Let the agenda always support what's best for the children in every deliberation. Thank you. Thank you. Our vision dedicated to excellence and our mission to inspire every student to think, to learn, to achieve, to care. I didn't think I was going to get emotional. Are the cornerstones for the Cherry Creek School District. Thank you, Mrs. Bates.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonald. Miss Allen, would you please go next?
Thank you and good evening. Thank you to Principal Duran and the entire Prairie community, as well as our security and setup teams. This evening, I want everyone to understand our goals and intentions as the Board of Education. Our mission to inspire every student to think, to learn, to achieve, to care, informs our policies and our actions. We are working hard to create an educational environment where every child feels valued, respected, and empowered to reach their full potential. Our work towards excellence in academics and in life is guided by policy VBA. That policy addresses the board's responsibility for educational planning and appraisal. Our district was just recognized as the third best school district in all of Colorado with an overall A on its report card. We were also ranked #1 in the category of best school districts for athletes in Colorado. These niche rankings show the dedication and hard work of our students, teachers, staff, and caregivers. This morning, I visited Grandview High School and participated in Nicole Russo's women's literature class. Ms. Russo's class was filled with bright, motivated, and passionate students who are eager to learn and make a positive impact on the world. It was inspiring to see the potential for our future leaders and change makers coming out of our district as they continue to discover their pathway of purpose. We have countless individuals, students whose academic achievements are a testament to their hard work and the dedication of our exceptional teachers. As just one example, I want to tell you about Sanvi Sarsam, an 11th grader at Grandview High School. Sanvi achieved a perfect score on the AP exam in computer science principles. Sanvi is among the 0.23% of students to achieve that perfect score. Congratulations to Sanvi and his dedicated teachers. Sanvi's success and the achievements of all of our students on their own pathways reminds us that the potential of our students is limitless. We also recognize there is more work to do. Excellence is not a destination, but a journey and a commitment to addressing the unique needs of our students. As part of our journey, tonight we will hear a presentation of the district's strategic literacy goals. We believe strong literacy skills are an essential building block for students to be successful learners, and we promise to develop independent and confident readers, writers, communicators, and thinkers by providing every student with authentic and rigorous learning experiences through a structured, culturally responsive, and evidence-based approach to literacy instruction. We are aware that outside organizations are sharing misinformed claims about books in our libraries. These organizations want to ban books about the LGBTQ+ experience, racism, sexism, bullying, and homophobia. We have a formal policy and process for selection and assessment of library materials. Our district takes a thoughtful approach to the materials, information, and resources that are available to our students. We maintain libraries with age-appropriate materials available for students to see themselves represented or learn about the experience of others who are different from them. As a public education system, we offer a wide and diverse range of media in support of intellectual and academic freedom. Our dedication to excellence also requires us to consider the whole well-being of every child. We recognize that excellence is a moving target. You cannot learn if you are hungry. I recently participated in the Grandview Feeder Area School food drive at Fox Hollow Elementary. Parents, teachers, students, local businesses, and residents continue to rally together to ensure that our students have access to nutritious meals. By coming together to address the issues of student hunger, we are not only supporting our children's immediate well-being, but also laying the foundation for their future achievements. Our dedication to excellence for all students is at the heart of our work. Together, we can foster an environment of trust, collaboration, and shared responsibility in fulfilling our mission. And before I end, to Director McDonald It's been an honor and a privilege serving with you. I've learned so much about our community, and your passion shines through. I will always remember and start every thought I have when we're doing this work. Your question: how are the children? Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a great fall break.
Thank you. Director Egan, please.
Thank you, Director Bates. Good evening, and thank you all for being here. Thanks to Prairie Middle School and Principal Duran for hosting, and the efforts of our safety, security, and technology teams preparing for these meetings. We often take these unseen heroes for granted since their work takes place mostly unseen. Speaking of which, I'd like to mention that last week was Maintenance, Grounds, and Custodial Day. Please give these individuals a big thank you. For work that often goes unpaid or unnoticed, but plays an essential role in the daily lives of our staff and students. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day. As we strive to acknowledge the horrors and suffering of the past, and in Native American boarding schools across this country, let us strive to work together for a better future for all. Ask yourself, whose land do you live on? What did they call themselves? What was done to them? How do you benefit from that? And what are they doing now? If you can't answer these questions, ask yourself why and find out. September 15th to October 15th is National Hispanic Heritage Month, highlighting the histories, cultures, and contributions of Hispanic Americans. Check out the many displays in our libraries proudly celebrating this month. The Cherry Creek Innovation Campus automotive and construction students attended Transportation and Construction Girl Day in September. This important event provides interactive exhibits for girls to get a hands-on introduction to transportation and construction industry, and also helps girls learn about financially sustainable careers in transportation and construction. As always, this is close to my heart. On my drive to the Colorado State Board of Education 83rd Fall Conference and Delegate Assembly last weekend that Director Garland and I attended, I reflect upon what makes public education the amazing gift it is to students, families, and communities. CASB consists of 178 school districts as diverse as this state, but with a shared value that public education is the backbone of our communities. Cherry Creek School District also recognizes the critical nature of public education. Tonight, we'll hear about the district's strategic plan and the 3 core values of literacy, health, and disproportionality. This district provides every student with equitable and challenging learning experiences, including exploring innovative pathways towards graduation and after, whether that is a career, the military, or a college education. This district has made a commitment to significant safety and security upgrades in our buildings. We have seen the first students earn industry certifications at the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, passed a bond and budget in 2020 at the highest margin ever, built new schools, led the state in providing in-person, high-quality learning for students during the pandemic, and built the nationally renowned Traverse Academy mental health facility and school. We know that our students' paths to graduation are as varied as they are as individuals. They are not a reflection of one test score or GPA. I am proud of these accomplishments, and now more than ever, we need to keep our eye on the prize. Congratulations to William McDavid, a senior at Cherry Creek High School, and Noble Haskell, a recent graduate of Smoky Hill High School, who collaborated to create a permanent Rubik's Cube at Craig Hospital. This project not only showcased their design skills, but also fulfilled Noble's Eagle Scout project. Please check this out if you haven't already. With a nephew who spent 6 months in Craig Hospital at age 16, I understand the importance of making these spaces welcoming, and I appreciate William and Nobles for their efforts. Tonight's meeting is Director Janice McDonald's final meeting as a Cherry Creek School District Board member after serving 2 terms. Director McDonald, you are an inspiration to me and have been a steady and wise presence on this board. You truly live your values, and I will miss you and the question that informs why we do this work. How are the children? Thank you for your tireless and thoughtful service. School board elections are critical to our democracy, and there is much at stake. Please make sure you understand what is on the November ballot and vote Egan, Garland, and Knowles. Be kind to yourself and others. In the words of Howard Rainier, Taos Public Creek Tribe, children learn from what they see. We need to set an example of truth and action. This concludes my comments.
Thank you, Director Egan. Director Garland, please.
Thank you, Director Bates. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And Director McDonald, they're all here for you. I feel like I want to bust out singing the song Popular from Wicked, but I'll save you that torture tonight. Thank you to the Prairie Middle School community for hosting us tonight. I recently attended the Colorado Association of School Boards Conference, where I served as our district's delegate. There were multiple resolutions around additional funding for our schools, fully funding special education, better pay for teachers, additional pathways for certification for special education, just to name a few. The debate was robust and included the voices of districts from across our state, including our rural schools. This month, I had the opportunity to attend several school accountability meetings. Parent participation has drastically increased. Parents, staff, community, and sometimes students are coming together to establish guidelines, set academic goals, student well-being, establish expectations about student well-being and safety, and parental expectations. School accountability committees, SACs, are having rigorous conversations on how to be inviting, culturally responsive, and doing the work of promoting excellence for all. Congratulations to the Smoky Hill community for celebrating 50 years. So they've been for celebrating 50 years of excellence and being a part of the Cherry Creek School community. We celebrate 50 years of achievement in academics, athletics, clubs, performing and visual arts, and parental engagement. Last week, Smoky Hill's homecoming celebrated through the ages. It was fun to see the students' interpretation of their parents' past fashion choices, good, bad, or ugly. Smoky Hill families lined the neighborhood for the homecoming parade. Students and families had a wonderful time. Please check the Smoky Hill website for additional information about the upcoming 50th anniversary events and celebrations. In additional good news for the Smoky Hill community, both Smoky Hill High School and Laredo Middle School have reached and improved their school rating to performance. So let's celebrate that. The Cherry Creek Schools Foundation is excited to celebrate its 30th anniversary this year. Past and present board members and donors came out to celebrate the foundation's growth and ever-increasing support of our district. Raise your hand if you or your child are an alum of this district. Okay, I have instructions for you. Visit Cherry Creek Schools alum. The foundation wants to hear from you. They want to hear your story. Visit the foundation's website at, you ready? Write this down, ccsdfoundation.org, where you can learn more and get more involved in this process. Over 4,000 families attended the foundation-sponsored STEAMapalooza held at CCIC this weekend. Finally, it was not until 4th grade when I was introduced to Black history beyond the Reverend Dr. King, Rosa Parks, and the genocidal atrocity of slavery. My teacher was Mrs. Erling Levinson. She introduced my classmates and I to the pantheon of greatness and the innumerable Black names and faces that contributed to the happenings of this nation and the world. My constant learning about Black history has always been caked in gratitude. Gratitude for the commitment and sacrifices made by others, coupled with absolute acknowledgement that I stand on the shoulders of others. Tonight is no exception. I salute the great and wise Reverend Dr. Janice McDonald. She is a trailblazer, and because of her, I am. Decades ago, she did not know it, but her work as a family liaison for this district made it easier for me and my family to enter this district some 30 years later. As a mom of 4 children, to become actively involved in the education of all 4 of them. Even now, it is her footprints as the first Black woman to serve on this school board that made an easier path for me to walk through. Thank you for your grace, wisdom, and constant reminder of who I am and whose I am. In the beginning, I was nervous about serving our district at this level, but the truth is your presence made this job easier for me. You reminded me of home, the strong, bold, beautiful, and brilliant Black women in my community and church who raised me. You lifted me up and you pulled on my coattails when I needed it. You served as R.E.F. Hutton. When you talked, we listened. Thank you for being a role model mentor to me. And as everyone else has said, your phrase, your question of how are the children will always guide my purpose. And I just want to answer you with Kendrick Lamar, we gonna be all right.
Okay, good evening again, and thank you, Principal Duran. I neglected to mention you early on this evening, so thank you for hosting us this evening. In Cherry Creek, with a 91% graduation rate, national recognition for academics and award-winning teachers, CCSD prepares students who are ready to take on the next stage of their lives, college, career, or military. Examples of how our students are succeeding are: 1, the National Merit Scholarship. The National Merit Scholarship Program honors individual students who show exceptional academic ability and potential for success in rigorous college studies. 46 seniors from high schools and CCSD have been selected as National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. These academically talented students have an opportunity to continue in the competition for some 7,800 National Merit Scholarships worth nearly $35 million, which will be awarded in the spring. Secondly, we have the College Board National Recognition Awards. To be considered for this recognition program, awards students must identify as Black, African American, Latino, Hispanic, Indigenous, Native, or attend high school in a rural or a small town. They must also take eligible administrations of the PSAT, NMSQT, the PSAT C10, or AP exams. 69 seniors from high schools in CCSD have received College Board National Recognition Program awards. The awards are presented for academic excellence to underrepresented students in 4 categories: the National African American Recognition Program, the National Hispanic Recognition Program, and the National Indigenous Recognition Program. And finally, the National Rural and Small Town Recognition Program. Another topic in our districts that is very important is our parent engagement in CCSD. I don't hold a candle to Ms. McDonald's, what did she say, 40 some years of volunteering in CCSD. I have 19 years. 19 years ago, when our family moved to Colorado, I began volunteering in our children's classrooms. Shortly thereafter, I began working on PTCO projects that led to executive board projects, Leadership Cherry Creek, and district-wide parent engagement groups. Ultimately, volunteerism led me and each of my colleagues to seek a seat on the CCSD Board of Education. Even with many years volunteering in CCSD and other school districts, the learning curve was steep. I am thankful for those that encouraged my colleagues and myself to get involved. CCSD regularly communicates with families and parents so they can be active, engaged, and informed partners in their students' educational experience. We want parents at the table alongside our students, teachers, and administrators so we can ensure we're meeting the needs of every student. It takes all of us to provide a safe, healthy environment for children so they can be given the support they need to develop and flourish. We invite all parents and guardians to join a district-wide parent engagement group and have your voice heard in important conversations. Opportunities range from your school's accountability committee or parent-teacher organizations to Leadership Cherry Creek, and there are many others. To learn more about all of these district-wide parent engagement opportunities, visit cherrycreekschooldistricts.org, get involved. We also invite parents and guardians to attend our board meetings held at schools across the district every second Monday of the month at 7 p.m. It seems we have a trend that October tends to be our full house every year now. So I believe that I can speak for myself and my colleagues and say that today it is so much easier to learn about parent engagement opportunities than it was almost 20 years ago when we were barely out of the dial-up stage of home internet. Today, information is just a click away. This is partially possible because our voters believed in CCSD and passed the 2020 bond election to provide every student with a laptop computer. So a few more topics of did you knows. Did you know that 91% of Cherry Creek's general fund is invested in people? Teachers, nurses, food workers, bus drivers, and more. Less than 2% of this goes to our central administration personnel. In 2022, Colorado spent $3,087 less per pupil than the national average. That puts us at around the 47th in the school district, or in the state, I'm sorry. For the 2023 school year, CCSD has a 91% graduation rate. And on average, CCSD students earn approximately $50 million in grants and scholarships each year. Ms. McDonald, thank you for your service to our students and staff of CCSD. Your wisdom and caring will be missed. I look forward to seeing what you do next. I know that you will not be sitting at home doing nothing. So I appreciate all you have done for everyone here, and especially this Board of Education. Thank you. Okay, so now is the time that we all really wait for at every board meeting, is we wait for our students to come and speak. Tonight, we do not have an elementary student speaking. So we will start with Ashley Owusu from Prairie Middle School.
When you think of prairie, you might think of an extended open grassland in which several different species of animals roam. Oh. All right.
Just get a little closer to your microphone and they'll be able to hear you better, I think.
When you think of prairie, you might think of an extended open grassland in which several different species of animals roam. Prairie Middle School is just like a literal grassland. It is a place where ideas and people roam. My name is Ashley Owusu. I am an 8th grader at Prairie Middle School. Before I begin, I would like to say that it is such an honor to share my experiences at Prairie Middle School with all of you. Prairie is such an incredible place to get an education, and my heart is full being up here tonight. Prairie has done so much for me, and I want to give back to it. Even though Prairie has become a second home for me, when I first entered middle school, I had a timorous feeling in my gut. I lacked confidence, I lacked the spirit to be here, and I lacked the feeling of comfort. I felt as if I would be judged and that I wouldn't make any friends and I would be an outcast. Those were all cliches that were placed into my head from negative perspectives. It took me a while to start getting used to my teachers and open up to them. That was until I first met Miss Wu. She is Prairie's orchestra teacher. Even though I always dreamed about learning to play the violin, I thought that I wouldn't be good enough. I would fail or humiliate myself. Miss Wu helped me realize my true talent. She didn't care if I messed up or if I couldn't sight read immediately, only that I tried. She didn't care if I didn't want to play that day or if I was scared, only that I tried. From the day I began playing, I quickly advanced, and because of Ms. Wu's continuous support and guidance, I have been able to continue playing for 3 years and counting. She pushed me from my comfort zone, and I am forever grateful for that. Ms. Wu helped me to have a growth mindset about middle school and helped me realize that I will fail. All that matters is that I tried my absolute best. Not only are the teachers amazing at Prairie, but Prairie is full of diversity, not just diversity from our cultures or from our backgrounds. My interpretation of diversity is our mindsets, our styles, our ideas, our talents, our hobbies, and who we connect with. Each time I step out into the hallway, I see all sorts of people with different histories, religions, and cultures. I can walk through the halls and hear various different languages at once. I learn about several different ethnicities and several different people. Even though we are all created differently, we are all equal. If we don't treat each other with kindness and respect, we won't get the treatment we deserve. All people can find a place amongst Prairie's walls. I know I have. Even though the students at Prairie have tons of life experience and wisdom, middle schoolers are often perceived as little kids who don't know anything about the world. We are thought to not know anything but what is placed in front of us. Some think we are easily influenced by the outside world and what is shown to us. I am a part of the younger generation of humans that can change the world for the better. I have witnessed this in the halls of Prairie. I have witnessed people supporting the mental health of others. There is always a student or staff member that will assist anyone who needs them. The adults here widely care about the student's whole well-being as a human. The friendships and connections people make support the resilience of our community. That is what I love because it makes me feel heard and seen and like I belong here. The strength of students is promoted here at Prairie. The empowerment and strength fills me with hope for the future. The classrooms and hallways are only a part of what Prairie has to offer. There are tons of extracurricular activities such as wrestling, basketball, performing arts, and an art club. These clubs focus on engagement, relationships, and a growth mindset. Just like I was nervous to play the violin for the first time. Some of my friends were nervous. People would make fun of them for not having as much experience in sports. They felt like they weren't good enough. I tell them to only focus on what they are doing, not what others think. By talking it out, their minds were set in a different direction, a better direction. Now, whenever I watch them play, I see a drastic change, a change for the better. I myself am in wrestling, and when I don't win a match, I don't get mad and want to quit. I use my own advice to make me want to try again and push myself to become a better wrestler and a better me. A wise person once told me, we win as a team, we lose as a team. If I don't help myself, I can't help others. Even though I will leave Prairie for good at the end of the school year, this place holds a special place in my heart. The teachers, my friends, and the building itself. Prairie holds so much pride, power, and acceptance. I am from Ghana, and thanks to the staff protecting my identity and letting it be seen, I am able to learn about my ancestors and who I really am. I get to learn more about my heritage and my background. Recently, I was accepted into NJHS. This is a group of students who were chosen for their hard work, excellence, and determination. It is such an honor and a privilege to be a part of this group. I've had tremendous amounts of support from my peers and my teachers to get where I am right now. Because of them, I am more resilient than I was 2 years ago. As a student here at Prairie, my purpose is to get an education and create a safe place for my community. Many generations before us that have run through the halls of Prairie have also paved the way for excellence, success, and confidence, and growth to make this place feel like a second home. I'm truly proud to call myself a Prairie Hawk. Thank you.
Well, Ashley, you're here on the right night. That's the most applause any student has ever gotten, I think. So, Ashley, thank you so much for sharing about your experience here at Prairie. I have to tell you, you talked about your lack of confidence when you first came to Prairie. And tonight, I even saw that tonight. It was like at first you were kind of quiet and shy. All of a sudden you just blossomed and you were so great to listen to. So thank you for sharing that. I think I'm excited about your orchestra. So I imagine you're going to do that next year also in high school. That's exciting. But I got to tell you, after this speech tonight, you might look into speech and debate too. So. So what are your aspirations for later? Do you have get thought about later on after high school? I know it's a long way off.
Well, when I graduate high school, I want to become an oncologist, but I haven't really looked into the colleges for that. But yeah, that's just what I plan to become, an oncologist.
Well, take advantage of all of those things that high school has to offer, because there is so much there that you will take advantage of and you will do well in life. Thank you. All right, and now we will hear from Hannah Cabeda from Overland High School.
Pride is a feeling that is very new to me. Frankly, I've never put myself in positions which I can accomplish something for which I can be proud of. I've always been a painfully shy kid for almost as long as I can remember. Class presentations were always done with my head down and my face covered with my computer, because obviously, if I can't see you, you can't see me. I started to venture out of my comfort zone in the beginning of my junior year in high school, where I signed up for my school's brand new speech and debate class. I joined this class because at this point in my life, I had just enough social ability and awareness to recognize that I was lacking those skills on all fronts. I hated speaking to people. It made me severely uncomfortable, but I wanted to change the world. And unfortunately, not all change happens behind a computer. So I was going to have to talk to people. So I joined the class. Although class was a bit of an exaggeration, there were only 5 of us. But it was in that class with that small group that I not only learned how to speak, but to grow. Grow as a person, a student, a leader. A leader is something that I never thought I'd be, a role reserved only for extroverts with all the confidence in the world. I had a very fixed mindset of who I was and who I could become. But I, with the help of my teachers and peers, soon realized that I didn't have to change myself to become a leader. The attributes I needed were already inside of me. I just needed a space to grow and explore. A space that provided opportunities to fail just so I could learn what it truly means to be human. Being a human means that we are all imperfect beings and no one is safe from making mistakes. But that just makes each accomplishment that much more meaningful. I learned how to be proud of who I was becoming. This is why it's so important that our schools create areas that foster and encourage growth mindset. Every student has the ability to grow into a leader. Sometimes they need just a little bit of a shove. This year, being president of my speech and debate club, I have had the incredible opportunity to see our program grow from a group of 5 to an actual class. To be frank, it was a matter of equity that brought this class into fruition. Other speech and debate programs from other schools had full class sizes, some even more than one. Our one-a-week after-school meetings just weren't enough to provide adequate resources to our students. It was my teacher, Miss Ford, who believed that we deserved the same opportunities as others that fought for this class to be made. With this opportunity being more accessible, the true potential of our students is uncovered. My club still may not be up to par with other schools, but we have a group of students who are committed to trying their best no matter the circumstance. Every single student is on a journey of becoming the person they were always meant to be. I think it's important to note that we are trying to build good people, not good students, because kids are so much more than just who they are inside of a school building. They are a whole person, and being in a school that nurtured my whole well-being, I'm a better person than I was a year ago. I believe in myself more. I'm no longer afraid to speak my mind because I know that my thoughts, ideas, and feelings are valid and deserve to be heard. And who better to hear our words than our school communities? But communities are not built overnight. They take time, patience, and a lot of stumbles. But once these communities are established and relationships forged, the connections between students and staff can become really impactful and meaningful. I remember my first speech competition, my coach sat and observed my first round. I wasn't perfect. As a matter of fact, I forgot an entire minute of my speech and stood there like a deer in headlights, trying to figure out what to say next. But when I looked into the audience, I saw my teacher with a confident and assured look on her face, and I kept going. When I left the round, I was met with a warm hug and kind words that told me I did a great job. And that feeling of knowing that I had someone in my corner who only had my best interest in mind made me feel really cared for. It was that care and support that made me want to do more, to engage more. Having someone who cared about what I accomplished and would help me through my failures and mistakes made my interest in things more apparent. Engagements are something that can be hard for some students to accomplish, but having someone passionate and willing to teach can make all the difference. Growth mindset, equity, whole well-being, relationships, and engagement. These 5 are not mutually exclusive ideals. They combined are the required tools to aid in creating a generation of independent, creative people, change makers. I was once afraid to say my accomplishments out loud, but no more. I am the state champion for Poetry Out Loud. I'm the 6th place state champion in my event in speech and debate. I have placed in the top 6 in almost all of my tournaments. I am one of the presidents of my club. I am a change maker. And I would like to thank our schools. And I would like to thank our schools for teaching the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, Hannah, I think we can probably all just go home now because I don't think anybody really wants to follow that tonight. Seriously. Thank you so much for sharing about your experience at Overland. I loved what you said, that we are building independent thinkers, independent people. I think that is so important, that we are building these well-rounded students like you. I think you can see that in you. So do you have plans next year?
Hopefully college.
Hopefully
I'm planning on
college.
I hope to study engineering, most likely maybe a minor in computer science.
Wow, good for you. That's exciting. Well, I'm glad you have plans. I don't know, I think you will do well, and no matter what you choose to do. And I think you need to talk to Ashley, because there's going to be a place open on the speech and debate team next year. So I think you should talk to Ashley and talk her into it, maybe. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, Mr. Smith, you get to follow.
Just going to say, I know one person that doesn't want to follow. Hey, ladies, can you hold on for just 1 second? Just 1 second for me. So, Ashley, awesome. Nice work. We have a school called CCIC that has mental health pathways. So when you get into high school, please make sure you go and we'll hire you back here. Okay. So, yeah, absolutely. One other thing, every time you fail, you learn. So continue to push yourself. Continue to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And don't be afraid to fail, because failure is what's going to make you great. And I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to be great. And then Hannah, from a shy, worried person to confidence exuding through you, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. And don't shy away from saying all the amazing things that you do, state champ, right? We're proud of you. We're proud of you. And good luck next year, and we'll be thinking of you. So thank you both for sharing this evening. So that I share my comments, first, I just want to recognize two things. I, too, want to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day and all of the contributions and the sacrifices that put us here tonight. I also want to say my heart goes out to those who are impacted in the tragedy in the Middle East, and be thoughtful about that. Tonight, my comments are difficult. I'm conflicted. I see this space of teachers who give themselves every day to children, do everything they possibly can to ensure that our students have the best experience every single day. I want to thank you for that. I want to tell you a story. A little over a week ago, I was at a school where they had lost a student. And inside of that space, they kept asking themselves, we should have done this. What if we did that? That student would still be here. And I had to share with that staff that this student's best part of her day, every day, was being in that school, because she was safe and she was protected by that staff. And then I came back to my office and I was flooded with hate via email, on social media, voice messages, which I told my staff, hang up, don't read it. But I read every one. Calling my teachers despicable things. Teachers who protect our students, no matter who they love, no matter what race they are, no matter what religion, because this is public education. And each child matters, and each staff member matters. I want you to know that I stand with you, I will stand alongside of you, and I will not back down to hate. I will not. Ms. McDonald, thank you, because you give me the courage to sit here and say this and act upon it. And thank you for always having the right thing to say when I need to hear it. I'm going to miss you. And to the Board of Education, thank you for standing up for every single child in this district, even when it's hard. I know that takes courage as well. So thank you. Tonight, we're going to share our strategic plan. We're going to talk about literacy. We're going to talk about health and wellness. And we're going to talk about disproportionality. And I will tell you, I have asked our staff and our administrators to do some lofty goals. As I look at our data and have conversations around how long is it going to take our students to read at standard if we grow by 3% or 4%, it will take our white and Asian kids 11 years to reach standard. Our Black, Brown, and Indigenous students, 17 years to reach standard. I will not allow 2 to 3 generations of students to leave our school district not being able to read. Reading is the foundation of every content area. So our goal is by 2030 to have every student reading at standard. Also, as I look at our data in gifted and talented, and I look at our data inside of special education or discipline, I'm tired of seeing our Black, Brown, and Indigenous kids on the wrong end of it every time I look. So in that same vein, by 2030, it is our goal that our data will mirror our student population because our kids deserve that. So again, I know it's lofty, but it's time to draw a line in the sand and say, if not us, who? If not now, when? So I go back to where I started. Every single student in this district matters. Every single staff member in this district matters. Thank you for what you do every day. I applaud you and I thank you. And Ms. Bates, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jennifer Perry and our district leadership team. I want to thank every single department for leaning into this conversation and ensuring that our students will be successful, every single one of them. Thank you, Dr. Perry.
You are welcome. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Who knew getting this opportunity to present in October would bring such a huge crowd? I'm excited that you're here to hear the strategic plan. Thank you, President Bates and board, for allowing me to present this. They've seen a couple iterations, but here is where we've landed. Again, we're talking about the strategic plan for Cherry Creek. Every few years, we're focused on new goals and what we need to do next. Coming out of the pandemic, we knew that things needed to potentially look different than they had before. And so you'll hear us start to use the line, excellence for all, excellence for the future. As Hannah so beautifully stated, a couple years ago, we went out to the community. We talked to stakeholders from many, many meetings, students, parents, community members, and really asked the core question, what would it mean if students, if people, as the students who presented tonight, were thriving in Cherry Creek? And the values that came forth, or as Superintendent Smith says often, or as our district leadership team says often, they're not our goals. They are the community goals. And they set out as growth mindset, equity, whole well-being, engagement, and relationships. And again, as our student speakers spoke to tonight, they are completely and totally intertwined. And while, yes, one of our core competencies is the education of children, we can't get to the highest level with our kids if we can't support them in all of these ways. As Chris stated, if you were to see the printed version of our strategic plan, there's a letter to the community, but we really call out this statement. Our strategic plan comes with a bold and aspirational goal to have every student meeting benchmark by 2030 and to eliminate disproportionality and literacy as measured by the state assessments. Our mission is to create the opportunities and access to high quality education that empowers all students to reach their highest potential. So we've called out 3 areas, as several of the board members stated, are literacy, whole well-being, and disproportionality. I will pull out the key strategies that we're talking about in literacy. Obviously, there are other things that we are working on, but here are the top 3 key strategies that we're working on. One is developing the multi-tiered system of support, typically referred to by teachers as MTSS, really building out the framework that says, what is it to have solid universal instruction across the system, tier 2 intervention across the system? What does tier 3 look like? What does that mean for our kids? Making sure that we have a comprehensive aligned assessment system. We use professional learning communities and data-driven decision-making to do what's best for our kids as we plan, teach, monitor, and adjust on a daily basis, as I know so many of the teachers here sitting tonight and in classrooms tomorrow do. We're looking at a literacy plan. We've worked with the state of Colorado to define the Cherry Creek Literacy Plan. It really is in totality part of the MTSS system, but it ensures all students can develop strong literacy skills and design learning experiences and systems that are responsive to the needs and assets of each learner. We can no longer have classrooms that are strictly curriculum based or lesson plan based. I planned it, I gave it to you, you're supposed to learn it in that way. We really have to be able to respond to the needs of our students, assess on the fly, be able to adjust, and continue to teach to help them meet the benchmark. And then again, a universal literacy instruction. At the elementary, that has looked like a common curriculum and common interventions, but as you move up through the systems, it's starting to standardize all that kids experience in the classroom setting. In addition to these key strategies, we've also picked out metrics that will be reported out on a regular basis so that students, staff, communities, and then the community at large can really see how we are moving through on our commitments to these goals. Some of those will be interim assessments from the building, READ-ACT data, CMAS, PSAT, and SAT data. As we move on into health and well-being, the key strategies, of course, we're always looking for physical safety, whether that's the enhancements recently of thumb locks or the improved vestibules or investment in additional security, personnel and security upgrades. We're also looking at the psychological safety for our students, so ensuring that students and staff have the support and resources to feel emotionally safe and free to be their authentic selves. I think we heard the students speak to that tonight. I used to be shy. I didn't know if it was safe. I didn't know if I was fully valued in this setting. And these kids are starting to really realize with what we've done around just SEL curriculum in general, really starting to be able to discuss what that means for them and who they are as people so that they can really share with us who they are as learners. And then also increase healthcare access. As many of you know, we've opened Stride Health Clinics. We were, I believe, the first district in the state or one of those to partner with Hazel Health for all of our students, especially coming out of the pandemic, who we would hear often, you know, I need support, but I can't get an appointment for the next 6 weeks. I can't get an appointment for the next 3 months. And so really having free services, of course, through recommendation and parent permission for our students, 4th grade and above? K-12 now. We've expanded it to K-12 now so that kids have that access should they need it. And my understanding, and Michelle could speak to it, Michelle Weinrob, our Chief Health Officer, I believe we had the highest level implementation for Hazel Health ever in an implementation of their services to a community. So we are so proud of that. Some of the metrics that we will be sharing with the community again are the physical and mental health usage data. Where are kids getting access? Is that in our clinics? Is that through Hazel? Is that through our staff in the buildings? We're going to start working on a climate and culture survey, really focusing on kids and staff. Where are they feeling heard? Where are they feeling valued? Where is that not happening in the same way? What systems and structures do we need to address, and how do kids and staff feel about that? Also looking at our suicide risk reviews, and our threat assessments. This will be an interesting one as we report out on data, because higher threat assessments could mean that our staff is better at identifying the needs of students. It could also mean that we have more kids that are demonstrating those behaviors. And so we'll really be thoughtful as we start to produce that kind of data to the community. And then finally, our third key goal and key strategies for that are disproportionality. We're looking at pathway of purpose. What does that mean? As we've said, pathway of purpose is the experiences that we want kids to have. Not only through the CCIC, the Cherry Creek Innovation Campus, but also through concurrent enrollment, through other CTE classes. If you had the opportunity to be at STEAMapalooza this weekend, it really was thousands and thousands of students and families exploring with hands-on activities in the STEM type fields and having the best time. We really did have to chase many, many people out at the turnover at noon because they just didn't want to leave. And so what experiences are we giving kids at the lower levels? So by the time they really access our middle school and high school true curriculum and opportunities, that they really know that those are pathways they may want to pursue. We're also looking at discipline practices. We know that there's disproportionality in how we have referrals, suspensions, and expulsions. What does that mean for training for our staff? But what does that also mean for the values of our community? We know that there's always talk depending on what the particular event is. And so how are we responding? And I know Derek Molnar, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Operations right now, is working with a group that's really expanded a focus beyond just expulsions and really into discipline and those precursors of attendance and things like that. And then equitable identification, that primarily deals with our gifted and talented and special education populations. As Superintendent Chris Smith said, we know that certain populations are over-identified or under-identified. And what does that mean for our staff and training? What does that mean for our communities? What resources does it mean we need to connect to that are outside of our organization? Because we're a very large organization, but we know, obviously, the cliche is it takes a village, and it absolutely does. And so how are we also connecting to outside resources for that? Some of the impact metrics that we'll be looking at is graduation rate, special populations, identification, interim and state assessments, as we said on previously on the literacy page, and discipline data. Again, all through a disproportionality lens, whether that's by gender, whether that's by age, whether that's by race. We really want to dig into where we're seeing the greatest disproportionality and start to address those at times. We've had successes in the past in microcosms, but what do we really need to do systematically to improve the experience for our kids and the experience for teachers in the classroom? We know those first couple years coming out of COVID were rough. There were some new things that were popping up in classrooms and kids had experienced outside. And so as that's starting to normalize and get back to what we want classrooms to look like, what does that mean? And are we really demonstrating equitable practices? As I mentioned, the metrics, we are currently in the process of building a dashboard through the help of the assessment and evaluation team and Norm Alerta's staff. We are looking at how to give data to the public. One of the things we're struggling with right now is if we were just to let you have access to what we have access to, you could dig down to the very specific student level, and we're not trying to expose a student at any one school. And so we're trying to figure out how to feed that data so that there's enough information for the public. But I wouldn't want somebody in a 200 kid building to be able to drill down to know a special needs third grader was the student that it was. That's not appropriate use of information. So we are currently working on that to share what will be STAR data, CMAS data, SAT, PSAT, GT, SPED, all of those metrics that I listed for you as I was going through those goals of ours will be demonstrated on a public dashboard, hopefully to be available to the public in the next 4 to 6 weeks as we're starting to figure out what feeds the system and what's consumable, because I can load a page with 9,000 numbers, but if we don't do a really good job of understanding what that is, then it's not any more helpful to the system than if they didn't have the information at all. There will also be internal dashboards that teachers Okay, so excellence for all in the future. Some of the celebrations that we do have in the district, and you heard many people speak to, we have been rated #1 in teacher satisfaction for the district. We have the graduation rate at 91%. And for those of you who don't know, graduation rates are no longer just seat time and Carnegie units. They require a proficiency of an SAT or an ASVAB or something like that as well. We have a huge number of our students who participate in athletics and activities, who participate in our career and technical education programs. We are excited on Friday to be opening Traverse Academy. As Mrs. Bates said, I think in this last graduation cycle, at the last reported number, we were at $50 million in scholarships for our seniors. I know that number probably topped 60 or 65 at some point when the kids go on and they accept those last minute things. They don't always come back to tell us, but they also have 150 languages spoken in the district, as we've mentioned several times, and have over 100 plus parent community organizations and ways for parents to participate. Some other highlights that we believe, help in the aiding of our plan to meet our strategic goals is universal preschool. What that will mean for access for 3- and 4-year-olds coming into a kindergarten setting, the amount of learning and structured curriculum that they will have experienced before they ever step foot into kindergarten is amazing. And we're excited to have offered universal preschool in every one of our buildings to open this year. Again, going back to Traverse Academy, the one of its kind, I believe Dr. Tony Poole, the Assistant Superintendent of Special Populations, was touring Congressman Crow around the building again today because he will not be able to be there on the ribbon cutting on Friday. But we've had so many people out. It's nationally recognized through both media and public officials, but it's going to be an amazing facility when it opens right after fall break. We have some additional health initiatives that we mentioned before, whether that was the expansion of Hazel, the third school-based community health center, and school meals. School Meals for All program, which we mentioned in a previous setting. Our director of Food Nutrition Services, who was in the back, unless she's given up her Chair Kim Gilgore, has grown by tens of thousands of meals operating to our students on a daily basis because of free meals in Colorado. Again, we have safety and security measures that really meet that health and wellness piece with 150 trained security staff, including 25 school resource officers, state-of-the-art intercom system, new secure vestibules, fire system upgrades, thumb locks, as we mentioned before, and consolidation of dispatch to one center. We used to have some stuff for transportation, other things for maintenance, those kinds of things. And now that's really consolidated in one spot to make sure that we are responding in the most effective and efficient way. And then innovation. Again, I mentioned the STEAM-a-Palooza, how that plays out, programming through middle school on into high school, all of our concurrent enrollment, CTE, and so on. We couldn't do that without good fiscal stewardship. As several people said before, 91% of our budget, which is approaching $1 billion, goes to people, because 91% of our budget is people. They are the staff that are with your kids and make the difference every day, and less than 2% of that goes to central administration. And because we have good fiscal stewardship and are able to do all of the things that Chief of Finance and Operations, Scott Smith, who's sitting behind me, is why we're able to employ the best teachers in the state of Colorado. We hired over 400 teachers this year, and because we were able to negotiate a much higher pay scale and starting salary, over 70% of those teachers were experienced teachers coming from other districts, and I know some of them are here tonight. So it is with that I will just tell you again, we are looking ahead for excellence for all and excellence for the future. We know we have some places to grow, but we also know there's some pretty incredible things happening in this district, and we can only capitalize on success and continue to succeed. So with that, I will throw it back to Mrs. Bates for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. It's always great to see where our district is heading and where we have been and where we're changing and doing things differently. So I will leave it to my board to start with questions. And Director McDonald, you will be first tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bates, and thank you, Dr. Perry. I have a question concerning the identification of special populations. Can you just speak to that a little bit, how you will identify those special populations
Say that last part again. What?
equitably?
So I'll begin to answer, and then of course I'll let Dr. Poole jump in if he would like to be more definitive. But there's a very specific process when a parent recommends special education testing, or teachers feel the need that there may be some deficits for a student. And so there's a body of evidence that's gathered, there's assessments that are gathered. And currently when that happens, we are finding that our Black and Brown students are identified at a higher rate than our white and Asian students. And so some of the work that Dr. Poole has already done this year is pulling his entire special ed staff together, and then continues with job alikes. So pulling speech therapists together, pulling ILC teachers together, BD teachers together, and a bunch of their work this year is ongoing training and retraining of how all of those assessments can be used, what they mean, how they're interpreted, and really trying to make sure that we're following a consistent process. One of the things that's helped us do that in the last couple years and start to improve in this area pretty significantly already is universal assessment teams. So pretty much all the students at the elementary level specifically are really assessed by very similar teams that are very highly trained in this area. Is there anything else you'd want to add, Dr. Poole?
Excellent job, Dr. Perry.
I listen when we're in meetings, so I think I captured most of it.
Thank you. And I also want to say concerning your speaking about celebrations with the teachers.
Yeah.
I think it's also noteworthy that a lot of our teachers were returning former students of our district. And I really think that that's commendable that we have people who want to come back and work in our district. So thank you for your presentation.
You are welcome. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Miss Allen, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Perry, for your presentation. I am thrilled that we have a strategic plan around literacy. It is my passion. I believe that it is the way that we break the school to prison pipeline. And before that, it's the way that we help our kids find their pathway of purpose. So thank you for that. With that said, I've heard some questions from the community about what about math? Why is it so? Why are we focusing on literacy? Have we forgotten about math? Do we care about STEM? How do we answer those questions?
Yeah. We absolutely still care about math and STEM. As we were pulling this out to like core top level goals, we did land on literacy. We do mean literacy in both language arts and math, and there are initiatives that are still happening in math as well. This is just called out more prominently in that we're always continuing to do work with evolving curriculums and assessments that are coming out. We've recently hired within the last couple of years, Dr. Amber Gardner, who is probably one of the top experts in the state, if not the nation, in math and kids' development of thinking. And so we are continuing to work on that as we come back, because if your future board meetings, we will start to present on these core goals in a more blown out fashion, not at this very high level. And so we'll be able to speak to that at a much deeper level when we present on literacy, when we present on whole well-being and disproportionality.
So when I get that question, I often think about my third graders' math homework now.
Yeah.
And how different it is than a page of addition, a page of subtraction.
Yep.
And he is required to read an entire paragraph before he gets to the question. So is that on the right track of why?
Yes.
Of the focus on literacy to get to the math?
Yeah. You absolutely, especially now, I think for all of us when we were in school, word problems were kind of the, hated topic of the time, but really that has become access to math, access to science, access to content of so much. So yes, they continue to be a focus, but literacy is something that we have to address.
Thank you. And then another part of this is behind this plan is our teachers and our educators. What role are they how are we then looking out for our teachers who are taking care of our kids?
How are we looking out for them? Is that what you said?
Looking out for them, giving them the support they need. I think of, if mom's not happy, nobody's happy. And I would say the same thing about teachers.
Yeah. So it is one of the things that we're currently talking about is just a process as we roll this out. Luckily, we have so many people here tonight to see the original presentation, but we've already presented this to ADCO. We are starting to present it to all the parent groups. We will be developing a smaller version of this presentation that principals can share with their staff through the work of the performance improvement team that's happening with instructional coaches, that's happening with coordinators, all of those people that then push in to support staff. And so first it's the initial, like, what do you understand about this and what does this mean? How does this play out for you? Obviously, I don't want a math department to be like, oh, this isn't about me. And so how does a principal work with that group to say, this is what this means for you, here's where the focus is for you. And then it's really working through gathering information. We have such a great partnership with our union that can really kind of come to speak to what are the concerns that are starting to come forward, what are things we're hearing, where is additional support needed, and hopefully some of our data, our interim data internally, whether that's STAR or some of the curriculum-based measures, will really start to bear that out for us too. Our staff is feeling like we've got a pretty good handle on X standard, but we're noticing that we're still just not seeing that come along. And so what do we need to do in the system? So it's both a people-based and a data-based response.
And Ms. Allen, I also think we need to be strategic about feedback loops. So what is working for you as a classroom teacher? What do you need support with? And I think we can be better about that and actually listen and respond quickly. With our new opportunity with the organization Qualtrics, we don't have to wait till the end of a school year to do a culture and climate survey. We will now have the ability to just send out a question or be specific to ask teachers, even at different levels, what exactly do you need support in, and how can we be better about providing that to you?
So similar to interim assessments for our kids, they'll have that. That's great. And then I thank you for that. And then I do have one more question. Since it's the board's job to consider how how our programming is working. What is the district's plan to report on the data that they're finding to the board?
Well, so once the dashboard is finalized, you'll obviously have full-time access to the public-facing dashboard. Two, as I said, we've then planned out when data sets would be available. So when the STAR window assessments happen, then I've plugged in approximately 3 weeks later at board study sessions. Those will come to you. We've looked at the time that the data for special ed and GT identification will really be submit to the state in December. So probably the first meeting in February is when that will happen. And so is that part of that plan for all of your study sessions and then public board meetings when we come back to you with the bigger data sets, we'll be reporting out to you and the community at large in those settings.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the entire leadership's team work on this. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Egan.
Thank you, Director Bates, and thank you, Dr. Perry and team. I am delighted to see this again. And as you mentioned, we have seen this before, and this represents months of work and a response to board inquiries and community inquiries. So I am delighted about it, and I've been talking a lot about it. So. Good. I wondered, and I'd also like to attest to Dr. Amber Gardner. She is a wonderful addition to our math instruction team. And then also to say thank you to Stacy Peoples and Scott Smith, who's sitting back there, for being so nimble on what was handed down to us for Universal Preschool. We agree that that is something that needs to be offered, but it was handled in an interesting manner. I'll leave it at that. So I just wondered if you could address, Dr. Perry, for me, the distinction between graduation rates and particular test scores. I think there's some confusion around that.
So oftentimes, well, let me just start with CMAS. So CMAS is a test offered at the state level, we know, and kind of starting in third grade. It's a snapshot in time. It's a one-time test. It really is not related to student work in the classroom. It is really how they perform that one day in time. As a principal years ago at Antelope Ridge Elementary, when my kids would have scored 75, 80% proficient or advanced on a CMAS, several years after that, the state really came in and adjusted the standards and really set those at a much harder rate. And so schools that used to look like they were the 70s and 80s on a pretty standard basis, you now see schools performing in the 50s and 60s. Not to say the standards adjustment wasn't appropriate, it's just significantly more rigorous. And so sometimes you'll hear people who had kids in elementary 15 and 20 years ago talking about this dramatic decrease. And in fact, the test and the standards have changed, which is part of what you're seeing. One. Two, though, when you start to go to stuff like PSAT and SAT, those again can be a snapshot in time, but often by the time that kids have gotten to high school, likely they have been with us for more years. We have kids that we actually, you would be surprised, don't have as many students as you would think who start with us in kindergarten and graduate as a total proportionality. But by the time kids get to high school, they have typically been with us longer, potentially been intervened for more often, and have had access to more resources. You also have things like tutoring clinics and stuff like that that are ongoing and outside institutions, whereas elementary is really bound often by the school day because kids don't have the ability to come and go at ends. Middle and high start to adjust for that. But as you get to graduation rate, which is, I think, our most significant data set, we have 91% of kids, and last year we had one of our high schools, Cherokee Trail, hit a 96% graduation rate. It's unbelievable. People don't do that, and they don't do it in a 3,000 kid high school. That staff really killed themselves to do what they were doing. But now, often as like I graduated from high school because I needed a certain number of credits. I had to get whatever the number of credits was. I don't remember what it was because that's a few years back. Well, let's just go with 20 for argument's sake. But I had to get 20 credits, basically have passed it with a D or above, and then you just kind of graduated. That's no longer the case. Not only do you need to pass and take the classes, graduation rates have increased. Demands from higher ed have often increased, even if they don't always make it into our graduation requirements. But now you have to pass a competency-based test. Again, there's an entire litany of what that can be: ASVAB, SAT, ACT, PSAT, but you have to demonstrate competency on those and have the seat time to graduate. So in fact, plus then it incorporates a GPA and those kinds of things. In fact, that's a much more holistic picture of how students are performing than a third grade CMAS. Again, third grade CMAS important, not saying it's not. I think it's a great data set to triangulate data for our teachers and parents about how kids are performing on a daily basis, and then how they really prove that out when, needing to stand and deliver. But it is a very different thing than a graduation rate.
Appreciate the explanation. And again, thank you so much for all the hard work on this. To distill the work of a district of 53,000 students into 3 strategic goals is a really exciting thing to see. And I'm excited about the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Garland, please.
Thank you, Director Bates. Thank you for putting this together. And I know I have been part of this district for quite a long time. And I remember when people kept talking about 20 years. And I'm thinking in my head, that's like 2 generations almost. And so to quote Lizzo, it's about time. So I appreciate the 6-year window that we are doing to close this gap for our children. My first question was, what is the training around disproportionality, or are we just needing to pull the data?
It's both. It's pulling the data to have an understanding and really making that not only consumable at the district level, at the school level, really potentially by the classroom level, depending on program level, depending on what that disproportionality is, whether it's with discipline, special education, or GT. But then there is training. A couple years ago, we were really focused in on middle school discipline. We were seeing a disproportionality growing. And so we did a ton of work with deans and counselors and assistant principals at the middle school level. That's when they put their consequence guide into place to make sure that practices were consistent across the district. It's similar to the work that Tony's team is doing out of SPED, making sure additional training is happening. It's similar to the work that's happening out of GT right now, because what we're finding is that the disproportionality in GT, what it looks like at the district level, actually plays out at the building level more specifically. There are buildings that really do have proportional data, and then others that it's much more stark. And so Rebecca is working, Rebecca Lopez, the director of GT, is really working school by school with that staff and leadership to help them look at their specific practices and support and those kinds of things. So it can be both. It is a true understanding of what does our data really say, and don't just assume you think you know what it says. What does it really say, and what is it really telling us? And then further training to help us address those things.
And then I know National Trend says that about fourth grade is when the discipline gap starts occurring for Black and brown boys.
Okay.
Does our district show that trend as well?
I have not seen a disparity between third and fourth grade. I've seen it more between middle and high. I'll have to pull that for you as we're getting that initial data down. I believe the last things I've seen is more specifically between fifth and sixth, which is really when you go from that one teacher, 24 kids in one classroom, to a 7 or 8 period day in much, much larger buildings.
And then along those same lines, are we seeing any sort of like high level themes that are reoccurring about the disproportionality? Like, is it attendance? Is it free and reduced lunch, or is it?
It can be those things, but other things that you'll start to see is like a certain subgroup gets in trouble in discipline-wise for fighting more, whereas another subgroup gets in trouble for being, quote unquote, disrespectful more. Those are the kinds of patterns that I would say more than I see necessarily free and reduced lunch. We do see some of that around the English language population, I'm sure bore out through frustration of just trying to communicate in those things. And so we're always trying to figure out how to better assess and address those.
And then along those same lines, when students, particularly at middle and high school, need supports, how do we give them those supports that we are on track for our plan, but then protect their dignity? Because obviously, in elementary school, if you go out of the class for a few minutes, that's not usually a big deal. But by middle and high school, people kind of know all of the things. And so how are we going to balance that with giving kids supports and meeting our goals?
You mean on track to graduate?
Yes.
Yeah.
That, and also meeting our plan of closing the gap in 6 years. And so if kids need supports, again, in middle and high school, that gets a bit more obvious. If you're in this class, or if you're going to go see Mr. Smith, I know what Mr. Smith does. And so how are you protecting middle and high school dignity and making sure kids are ready for graduation and all those things and meeting our goals?
So a ton of that is going to really play out through part of the MTSS process and what really a tier 2 and tier 3 does look like at the secondary level, because sometimes that can be an entirely different class. Sometimes that can be support within the class. If you're dealing with support within the class and you're really, quite honestly, meeting with all kids at some level of support, whether that's to really push some to in the next level or really to pull others up. When you're meeting with all kids, that's not necessarily creating hypervisibility. Okay. One of the best things that I think the high schools have done in the last few years is really created these tutoring centers, and they're really for all kids. And they can be if you missed a test, they could be, my daughter was out sick when I was out sick last week, so she can go in and really either sit with kids or teachers that are staffed with it. And because it's so highly used now in those first probably semester iterations, different schools were seeing different success based on the schedule and who was in there. But the high schools that I'm talking to now are having incredibly high success rates with kids just feeling comfortable because it's just part of what they do. It's just where everybody goes when they need to make something up, get additional support, don't understand. And quite honestly, with some of the look at literacy through the literacy plan and some of the stuff that's going to start happening at the state with the math level, there is going to be a demand for secondary teachers to start to learn some of that science of reading, science of teaching math, because they have kids that are coming to them that have skill deficits. Maybe they've moved in. We were just recently talking about, as the state has declared that we have so many students coming from other countries right now, we are accepting a massive number of newcomers on a daily daily basis. And these are kids who've maybe never even been at school before, much less have proficiency in English or their primary language. And so we're just seeing the divergence of need growing pretty significantly. And so that will continue to require additional training.
And then knowing that we don't get our scores until the following school year, are we doing a plan behind schedule for kids? Making plans behind schedules for kids?
No, but what I would say is, I mean, we do get SAT, we get more quickly than that. This College Board stuff comes back more quickly than that. The state assessment does come later, but by that time, especially with a comprehensive aligned assessment system that we have internally now with STAR, there's ongoing internal data that we'll start to be able to triangulate and really should, as we get additional assessments, we just assessed with it for the first time, as we continue to assess in December or in the December window and then in the spring window and start to show growth, Norm will be able to show through lines of what's predictive of CMAS and other assessments as they come out.
And then knowing that teachers have a lot to do already, and my yellow brain says a para for every classroom. And so how are teachers going to do all of this and make what to me seems like individualized plans for every student, which I know there's some degree of that happening already, but again, with this aggressive 6-year plan and all the other things that they do, like what's like, how are we going to make sure that they are supported, don't get burned out, and that we meet our goal?
I think that's a multi-tiered approach for one. I do think that there is training and some things like that as we continue to work with the staff we have. I do think we're going to have to start looking about strategic or staffing plans, as especially high schools haven't really experienced much declining enrollment yet, but the other schools have. And so how do we start to strategically think about the positions that we've had, and are there other positions we need to have? I know as Scott Smith has presented, you know, as we continue to get funded by the state, do we need to think about, we would never take from one school to give to another, but do we think about how we grow differently? And so all of those things are in the conversation. And yes, there are some rubs at times. We know just a couple years ago, when the state had implemented so many curriculums and changes, and again, they just changed our assessment system. We had just kind of settled in with FastBridge, and they've now come back and said FastBridge is not allowable at the state level after next year. So we've switched to STAR. There are things like that that we are trying to flow with. We're currently working on a plan. As I think I shared with the board in the last study session, the new READ Act plan is much more intensive than any of the previous ones, and we know it's having an impact on teachers in the classroom. So we're trying to come up with a short-term solution to help solve some of that now, and then start to really be thoughtful about going into next year about what could you do that looks differently, that gives people time and space to assess their kids and then enter this information.
Well, that's all for today. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate all that you do for our district. Thank you, Dr. Jen.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you again for your presentation. Anything that I had written down here has been asked already. So, and thank you to district leadership as well. Thank you all for working on this. I appreciate it. And
Mrs. Bates, if I can say, I didn't get to say every single one of their names, but every single person sitting behind me stepped in, did massive amounts of work, whether it was Abby's team with graphics and content and production, whether Sonia was working on pieces. Everybody up here had some massive piece to do with this strategic plan, and so do their teams. I am so lucky to work with this group of professionals. I know Chris says all the time he has the best team. I know I'm the second one, but they really are amazing. Like, these are people that we want to come to work with every day and do brilliant things on a regular basis that aren't even listed up here because they're not the sparkly highlights. And so it's just an unbelievable team, and we are so lucky to have them. So thank you.
thank you. Okay. Does any? We're good? You need a break? Okay, at this time, we normally make time for audience comments. At this time, we would ask that we could take a 5-minute break. If the board could take a 5-minute break, personal break, if we could do that, I guess that would be a point of order I need to ask for, but if we could have that before we start with audience comments, because we will be here probably for the next couple hours. So we would ask that we could just have a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Check, check. Check 1, 2, check, check. Was it speaker?
All right, if we could all just take our seats, please. All right, let me get my gavel.
If we could take our seats.
Thank you. Let me get my banger. Hello? Could we all take our seats, please? Did she say, do I need a teacher voice? I'm trying.
Please take your seats. Please, audience, take your seats.
All right, thank you for entertaining that break. All right, it is at this time in our meeting that we make time for members of the audience who have completed the online public comment form prior to 12 noon today to address the Board of Education. For everyone to be heard, please limit your comments to a maximum of 2 minutes. A buzzer will sound at the end of your 2 minutes, and the microphone and audio will automatically be muted. Each speaker may only speak once during public comment. Speaking time may not be shared between speakers. This is your opportunity to make comments to the Board of Education in accordance with board policy. It is not a question and answer period. Please confine your comments to matters that are germane to the business of the district. Further, please recognize that students attend most of our meetings. Any speaker whose statements or behavior are unrelated to the business of the district, appear threatening or unsafe, or are inappropriate for K to 12 students may be interrupted or warned and their opportunity for comment terminated. Audience members who speak are asked to do so in a respectful manner, and the audience is encouraged to listen respectfully. Any speaker or audience member who disrupts the good order of the board meeting, including the speaking time of others, may be asked to leave. We are very interested in your feedback and will listen carefully. On behalf of the board, I want to thank you in advance for your comments and for taking the time to come to tonight's meeting. Mr. Koenig, would you please invite our first guest?
I'll call 5 names up at a time. Please stand in order behind the podium and remember to state your name at the beginning. We're having a little audio challenge tonight with the air conditioner, so we get a choice of hearing or coolness. So if you can speak loudly into the mic, we'd appreciate it. Maureen Welch, Drew Patterson, Robin Patterson, Barbara Niederhoff, Alan Ridgway.
It looks like Miss Welch is not here
Right.
this evening. So if you
Drew,
like to,
go ahead.
thank you.
Drew Patterson, Pornography is Not Education. A little more than 5 years ago, Brian Vasquez, a teacher at this school, was sentenced to 40 years in prison for a 5-year rape and sexual molestation spree that destroyed the lives of several Prairie Middle School girls and led to a $12 million tax-funded settlement that no taxpayer or parent should ever forget. 3 administrators were charged with covering up the child abuse. They even forced the little girl to apologize and hug the monster who had raped her. Then they suspended her. The news labeled Cherry Creek Schools the School of Secrets. This pattern of cover-up and deflection continues to characterize this school of secrets. Let me be clear, a book specifically genderqueer with a depiction of a child giving oral to an adult is by definition, by federal and state statute, child pornography. Title 18, Section 2256 of the U.S. Code defines child pornography as any visual depiction of a child engaged in a sexual act. Why the various county DAs are not prosecuting this is anyone's guess, but they are derelict in their duty to protect the public and the children from this type of exploitation. We find ourselves here again tonight facing the same school of secrets, this time regarding the issue of pornography. Once again, the school of secrets deflects, obfuscates, postures, and attempts to punish the whistleblowers. They have learned nothing from the Vasquez debacle. Once again, the messenger is vilified as a hater. In his email letter to Cherry Creek parents, Superintendent Smith attempts to assume the moral high ground, claiming that anyone that opposes this type of material to children is, to use a worn-out phrase, a hater.
Thank you. Your time is up. Mr. Patterson, please, your time is up.
Dr. Robin Patterson, Pornography is Not Education. 3 years ago, our group sent you screenshots of pornographic, racist, and anti-Semitic content in your digital collections. Teachers send children to these collections. I'm only going to read a few of the many titles that the board apparently has reviewed and approved over these last years. There are advertisements for adult chat sites, 3Fun threesome dating apps. Here from Gale U.S. History Collection, A Taste for Brown Sugar, Beyond Black and Blue, BDSM, Internet Porn, and Black Female Sexuality, Playing with Race on the Edge of Edgy Sex. An excerpt reads, BDSM, short for bondage, discipline, or racial play, is getting aroused by using racial epithets or scenarios like a slave auction, a plantation mistress inspecting a black man for purchase in shackles, slapping him in the face. Far from just black and white, it's also about playing out Nazi interrogation of Jews. Last spring, the local news focused on the CCSD's anti-Semitism problem. As a taxpayer and as a Jewish woman, I find it terrifying that the school endorses material that teaches hate and sexual violence. We call for reform in Cherry Creek schools. We call for an audit and a review of your digital library collections and your curricula. We call for new leadership with a focus on academics, for leaders that value transparency and that will respect all things.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Hi. I'm Barbara Niederhoff. 3 generations of my family so far have been Cherry Creek students, parents, or employees. My high school years coincided with a politically instigated panic about education. Books that were honest about social issues were falsely portrayed as porn, and books that were honest about science were called satanic. Some people in power insidiously twisted statistics about Black children, casting doubt on their ability to learn in order to divert resources away from them. Cherry Creek High School, rather than hide difficult topics, set up a week of special programming for us to encourage us students to examine the facts, discuss the controversies, and develop our understanding. I want to thank the boards, administrations, and staff since then for continuing the tradition of bringing openness and excellence to all students. Thank you for following evidence and learning from mistakes, getting to know new children and putting new knowledge to work in their education. I'm proud to be part of this legacy with you and look forward to seeing the tradition continue. Thank you.
Sir, hold on one second, please.
comments. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You can proceed.
I'm Alan Ridgway. I want to thank the board for doing what you do in the environment in which you're doing it, especially with agenda-driven activists targeting our school board for a takeover like the ones we've seen in other parts of the state. Many of those activists are with us here tonight, and I'd like to remind the board that people often make up for bad arguments with numbers and volume. The arguments we've heard about restricting information are misleading and disingenuous. They're saying they are protecting kids, but what they want is control. Control to force their narrow and extremist doctrine on all the students. They want to decide what your kids can read and learn. They want to dictate a version of education that meshes with and is limited to their warped worldview. This crusade of theirs is un-American to the core. This is a public school district with a mandate to serve every student within its boundaries, no matter their abilities, color, gender, sexual orientation, or religious preferences. These self-appointed arbiters of morality do not want to be inclusive to any viewpoint but their own. What these people want is for the schools to be an extension of their parenting and to force that parenting on the rest of us. While they have every right to parent their own children as they see fit, what they are doing here will prevent all our children from learning important ideas and skills they will need to navigate a wide and diverse world as adults. If they gain seats on the board, the quality of education in the CCSD will deteriorate rapidly. Our kids will struggle to get into good colleges and universities and generally be less prepared for life. I encourage the board to remain open-minded about the education horizons and to continue down the path of excellence you have charted. I also hope the citizens of the district have the wisdom to keep electing enlightened and wise members to this body. Thank you.
Allison Benton Jones, Wilburn Boykin Jr., Heidi Garrigan, Bill Vanderloot, Karen Rowell.
Good evening. My name is Allison Benton Jones. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Specifically, I would like to address some falsehoods being bantered about regarding the CCSD. Skewed statistics are being used to say this board is failing our children. People are cherry picking COVID-era test scores to distort the perception of the education quality of this district. That period of time was an anomaly, as a record number of parents, not the school board nor the administration, opted their children out of participating in the standardized testing, thus distorting the overall averages and numbers. According to Niche, the Public School Review, and other reputable public school rating sources, Cherry Creek School District is consistently ranked in the top 20% of all school districts in the state of Colorado, and many of the schools in the district are recognized nationally. As mentioned just recently, CCSD had 46 National Merit semifinalists named, compared to 29 in Douglas County, 25 in the Boulder Valley School District, and 18 in Fort Collins. Another distorted perception is that the school district is not keeping our children safe. A far more effective way to create safety for our children is not policing school boards, school administration, teachers, and resources, but to educate and discuss with our children at home how to navigate and process in a healthy and responsible way their constant exposure to the stream of negative, sexualized, unhealthy content received daily via their personal, not school, phones and tablets. While these kinds of discussions are often harder and more time-consuming, they're a far more genuine and impactful way to exercise our parental rights and help keep our children safe. Thank you for your time.
Like to speak about assumptions versus reality in the Cherry Creek School District. Some assume that CRT is being taught in the district when it is only available as a law school course And the vast majority of our teachers are not lawyers masquerading as teachers. Individuals who assume that a curriculum has been implemented to harm their children's white racial identity have no clue what it takes to implement any curriculum in the school district, let alone one that's absurd. Individuals are running for the board seats who have no experience regarding the district, having never gone to Cherry Creek leadership, served in any capacity at the grade school level, middle school, or high school. They address problems already being addressed, but offer no solutions because their knowledge of the problem is based on what they assume, not reality. Some assume that we live in a totally blind society where religion, race, gender, ethnicity, and sexual orientation don't need to be considered, let alone addressed in books, classrooms, or discussed. I have seen individuals who have asked what veterans would think in public forums that don't allow for the veterans to respond and then say what they assume veterans would think regarding kneeling and flag saluting. Lord knows this school district is far from perfect, and it has made bonehead decisions as a result. However, to assume that they are not working towards perfection is an insult to every single individual who calls Cherry Creek School District their home.
Sorry, your time is up.
That's a hard act to follow.
As a parent of 2 children in the district, I would like to share my thanks for the education they are receiving and the academic awards that they have been able to earn due to the dedication of teachers and administrators. I quote one of my sons who wrote a thank you note to his teacher. "Thank you for everything you taught me. I learned a lot about math. I also learned about myself in your class." As a professional career coach, I have the privilege of coaching a number of Cherry Creek District graduates, and I am continually impressed with the maturity and academic excellence which they demonstrate in their interactions with me and their future employers. They give me hope for the future. Thank you.
My name is Bill Vanderlucht. I've got a first and fourth grader in the district. I'd like to start by simply thanking the board, hearing the heartfelt expressions from so many board members about your many, many years of service. I'll remind everyone, these are all volunteer positions. These people have dedicated years of their life, often in obscurity, serving on PTO, volunteering in classrooms for many years before bringing that expertise and experience to the board. And I just want to thank you all for donating your time, your talent, your expertise to serve my kids and all the other kids in the district. I'd also like to address Superintendent Smith's remarks about the violent threats coming into our school as a result of all the misinformation being circulated. Director Bates noted that information is only a click away, but so is disinformation. We've had so many irresponsible campaigns apparently being continued tonight, circulating misinformation about what's happening in our classrooms. I'm grateful to all the teachers and librarians here who are in the classrooms, who actually know what's happening on the front lines, who can speak to the reality of what's happening in our district and help us stay grounded here amidst the craziness of a political campaign. People noted that turnout curiously seems to swell here in October before we have elections. And I would just like to urge everyone to check their facts and listen to the people who know best what's happening in our classrooms, to our students and to our teachers and our librarians, to whom I give my gratitude for all their dedication to my kids. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I had 3 children go through the district, elementary, middle, and high school, all 3 of them. Today, they are very healthy adults because I did not raise them myself. They had the help of the teachers, all of their teachers, all three of them. My youngest will be 29 next month. But why I'm here is because out my kitchen window, I hear the children at Summit Elementary playing in the schoolyard and laughing and just enjoying themselves. And in the afternoon, I see Horizon Middle School walk home. Their teachers were always available if my kids needed direction on something they saw, read, heard, or misunderstood. I myself worked for the district's Excellent Avid program where I tutored. The most important month was learning about the Holocaust. Tutors being present helped explain world history in an understanding manner without tainting the truth. I had the pleasure of working in the Department of Inclusive Excellence, which supports teachers, students, parents in understanding culture, color, religion, or sexual orientation. That advocacy is extremely important. We are all so different, yet we bleed the same. I support the freedom for students to learn this country's history and also have the freedom to read.
Thank you. Your time is up. Kelly Asuna, Maddie Horn, Chad Brown, Heidi Parrish, Fiona McGuire O'Shea.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kelly Osuna. I am the proud parent of a 2023 graduate and a future 2026 graduate. I'm also a 23-year veteran teacher on this very campus. And I'm here just to say thank you to all of you. As a mom of a trans and pansexual children, I am ecstatic when I received the email in very firm terms saying that as a district, we stand up for all kids. Every child counts and every child matters, something that I try to live every day in my own classroom. And it feels empowering to know that we have a district that is standing behind us as teachers. Hopefully to put at ease the minds of people who think ill of teachers. Please understand that each and every one of us here today, we are here because we want to be with your children. We love your children. Their health, their mental health, their academics is our one and only concern. If I had the ability to get kids to do whatever I want, it would not be to try to convince them to be something they are not. It would be to get them to come to class on time, to turn in their homework, and to put their phones away, because that's what we really care about. So thank you. I hope you will continue to drown out the noise and to listen to those of us who really have a stake in the district and are here because we love children and we love Cherry Creek schools. Thank you. Yeah.
Superintendent Smith, thank you for taking a vocal, hard line against hate tonight. That means so much to the LGBTQ community. That leadership will save lives. Cherry Creek School District, thank you so much for standing strong in support of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Your pathway to purpose is so good for our children. A month and a half ago, a woman in California was murdered for flying a pride flag. I was told in the week following that I should take down my flag if I don't want to be shot. I kept my flag flying, but I've been scared. I'm scared, but I won't be silenced. The attack on Douglas County Pride was traumatic, and these hateful crowds showing up at board meetings is terrifying. Superintendent Smith, please continue your hard line against hate. There is no middle ground here. Our children's lives are at stake.
My name is Chad Brown, former student, homeowner, parent, and employee in the CCSD district as a teacher here for Prairie. I'd like to welcome all of you to our school, to our community, and to our Prairie family. In these hallways and in my classroom on any given day, you will see students from many national backgrounds. Our kids speak over 60+ languages. They come from any religion that you can imagine and every skin color you have ever seen. Our students walk into the building every day from families of wealth to families of need. Our students have a spectrum of beliefs, both religiously and politically, as well as from a spectrum of sexuality and physical or cognitive ability. For our students, this is not only the reality they live in, but the reality that they choose to celebrate every single day. Our students live their days from a lens of acceptance, a place of inclusion, a faction of family, where instead of excluding each other because of their differences, they celebrate them as achievements. And that is why I am in front of you all today. As we have moved forward as a country and now as a community in CCSD, there are those that are against these values. They are against the celebration of differences. They are against the values of inclusion and acceptance of all students. Some of those voices are here tonight to convince you that they are here for parents, for teachers, and for students. However, as you listen here tonight, I encourage you to do your research on who and what these groups represent, why they are here tonight, and ask yourself, why do they hide behind political buzzwords, dog whistles, and social media screens? I am proud to be a member of this school. I am proud of the students that walk through these halls, and I'm a proud member of this community. But most of all, I am proud of being part of a district that values the inclusion and acceptance of all children. E Plumas Unum.
Hi, my name is Heidi Parrish, and my husband and I are adamantly opposed to book censorship. When we start letting parents walk into our libraries to pull books off the shelf and then declare them pornographic or unacceptable in some way, then we no longer have intellectual freedom in the school libraries. Our school district has done an excellent job of providing compelling reading materials that are relevant and available to all kinds of students. Some books challenge the perception of everything, while others can inspire. So when books are banned, you're essentially blocking off a whole world of thought. I ask that you continue the district tradition of sending critical thinkers out into the world. This is done primarily by giving students a variety of perspectives and by leaving books on our shelves. I would like to share an excerpt from an essay that was written by my son while he was a student at Cherry Creek High School. I'll try not to cry. Growing up without video games or a smartphone, I turned to reading and it became the foundation of my life. It wasn't always that way. Until second grade, I would inevitably find myself scanning the same page continuously, completely uninterested every time I read. The turning point was a Christmas gift of the Harry Potter series from my parents. After completing the first chapter, a new world seemed to come alive around me. Each time I picked up the books, I was miles away at Hogwarts. That winter break, my aversion to reading dissipated. Reading was no longer a chore that was the only option to entertain myself. Instead, it was an opportunity to explore the world from my own home. With each passing year and each passing series of Game of Thrones or Gray Man, I grew not only as a reader, but also as a person. I recognized that I was developing perspectives untapped by other students. I had encountered poverty and war. I had contemplated political decisions. I had traveled to obscure countries and accomplished unthinkable physical stuff.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Hi there.
I'm going to start with a different topic than what I had planned. My name is Fiona. I have 4 students. I am shocked at what I'm hearing tonight. I have friends on both sides, and I got to tell you, everyone does not understand each other. This is not about hate. This is not about the gay community. This is about one group wants pornographic material out of the library. Nobody said get rid of all the books. They don't want what they're seeing with oral sex in the library. Nobody's banning books. We want the material out. It has nothing to do with the LGBTQ community. I just have to state that. On to the next thing. After watching the recordings of the candidate forums, I felt compelled to come tonight to highlight a few issues. First, the topic of parent engagement regularly comes up. The parent engagement in question is not about checking our backpacks, kids' backpacks, or talking to their teachers. It's about authentic engagement with district leadership and a lack of opportunity to do so, even though engagement is supposed to be a core value of the district. Let's be real, there's no opportunity to engage and discuss with leadership. You can't even get a response to an email. Parent engagement is not welcome. It's just a buzzword, so let's not pretend. This is also evident by the lack of opportunities for families to attend these meetings virtually, another recurring topic brought about by the new voices in this election. One of your core values is equity, but that is a buzzword only used when it's convenient and suits the agenda. Equity means providing opportunities for single parents, the disabled, seniors like my parents, folks who can't afford to hire childcare for 5 hours to attend these meetings. The only reason virtual meetings are not offered is because we do not want true parent engagement, or otherwise we'd offer it.
Thank you. Your time is up. Jamie Logan, Mary Davis, Morgan Davis, Dante Upchurch, Lori Gimmelstein.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Logan. I am a teacher here in the district and a mother of 4. I want to just start by saying thank you for having everyone here. I'm so nervous. Sorry. When I walked in this evening, I walked through a group of people praying with a flag and just having some fellowship. I walked through amazing Whitney Houston music and rainbow umbrellas. And I just want to say I felt the love from everybody, right? Like everybody loves these kids in their own way, whether we disagree with each other or not. And that's why I'm here. I'm a teacher, and I just want to reiterate that I love every student that comes in my doorway. I don't care, as I'm echoing what everyone says. I love all of them, and I come from a place of love with this message. And I promise you, just like Ms. Osuna said, if I could indoctrinate any student, you would know, because their computers would be charged every day and they'd have their charger and it'd be amazing. All right, so I'm going to take a hard left turn because of the literacy plan. And so I would love, board, I'm begging you, please. I am a freshman teacher at Overland this is my first year teaching at Overland. I have the honor and privilege of teaching kids who come in reading at around a 5th grade reading level on average, okay? And so it's my job to help catch them up. I love my job. I love my students, but I'm asking you to help me work myself out of a job, hopefully like in about the same time that I retire. But I'm asking and begging you, please put funding back into elementary schools for intervention teachers. Please stop pulling the funding, please.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Your time is up. Your time is up. Okay, we'll move to the next group. Casey Ellis, Rima Wadon. Okay, I'll remind the speakers to line up behind the podium as your name is called so that we can have an orderly meeting.
Hi, my name is Lori Gimmelstein, and I'm a parent in this district, and I'm also the director of the Cherry Creek and Colorado Parent Advocacy Networks. And I'm here tonight to speak to the Board of Education and everybody listening. Is the District of Excellence, where in Prairie Middle School, only 16% of these middle schoolers are at grade level according to the Colorado Measures of Academic Success, excellent? 7% at grade level in math. You have all served on this board for 2 to 8 years. And the last time our district was at a point of at least getting closer to grade level was 2014. Did everybody in this room know that more than 50% of our children are not at grade level in English? And that number goes down. Only 40% are at grade level in math. We are leaving students behind. The Cherry Creek and Colorado Parent Advocacy Network have never, not once, ever done anything anti-LGBTQIA+. We support every person. We protect their civil rights. If anyone's civil rights have been violated in this district, I will be the first person to stand next to you and protect you. These are lies. These people are using our vocabulary, but not our dictionary, and they're weaponizing your kindness. I want to know right now why it is hateful to our kids that identify as LGBT to protect them from porn. And you, Christopher Smith, lied to the public on 9/26, saying false allegations. You lied. On 9/28, I have a recording of All Boys Aren't Blue available in 4 elementary schools. We aren't asking to ban books. All we want is permission.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Reem, we're going to start over real quick. Hold on. So I'm going to call the next group. Casey Ellis, Rima Wadan, Keith Frazier, Missy Bergland, Unsuk Zucker.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Superintendent Smith, as well as other Cherry Creek educators, parents, and students that are here with us tonight. For those that don't know me, I'm Casey Ellis, President of the Cherry Creek Education Association. I'm incredibly proud to represent 2,700 plus members of CCEA, and I speak today not only as a middle school science teacher, but also as a parent and guardian of students at Smoky Hill and Horizon Community School. First, I want to thank the board for their continued support of students and educators in this district, even during a time where anti-public education forces have threatened our schools and made ridiculous claims about books that are not in our elementary schools in an effort to stir up more hate from extremist groups. I also want to appreciate Superintendent Smith's remarks that we will not tolerate harassments or attacks against our LGBTQ+ community. CCEA stands in strong support of our values that all students matter, and we will continue to collaborate with the district in that important work. I also take issue with the idea that Cherry Creek Public Schools are somehow struggling. Creek continues to be a destination district for students, parents, and educators. Do we have challenges? Yes. Educating in 2023 is hard. Every day in the classroom across this district, our teachers and special service providers rise to those challenges, and we don't always succeed. But we come back with new lessons and new optimism for the next day. I wouldn't want to teach in any other district in Colorado, and I definitely would not want my kids to go to school in any other district. And for that, again, I thank the directors of the Board of Education, Superintendent Smith, and all of the educators that are here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you to the board. My name is Rima Wadan. I'm a parent and alum of the district. I'm going to change my speech based on what I heard today. I do want to put a first premise that the racist entity of the Cherry Creek Parent Advocacy Network has infiltrated our past meetings, and they have leaders that are going into our spaces. I really appreciate you guys protecting that spaces for our parents. But I'm here really to support the Education School Board. Chris Smith, Ann Egan, Angela Garland, Kelly Bates, Janice, Kristen, all of you guys, we really appreciate everything that you do to standing up for our kids, for our well-being of all the children in the district. It's because of your standing up to these oppressive forces from outside with disinformation that our children are able to succeed. I really appreciate you and know that there's communities that support you and support this district. I express my support for Ruthie Knowles, Angela Garland, and Ann Egan. I believe that you guys have the right mindset for our district, but I am deeply concerned of the false rhetoric of our opponents that are conjuring up. I want to say that there's a book we're talking about pornography, and Scott McKenna I'm flabbergasted that he's running for a position on the board given the book that he presented. And I'm quoting from his words is that he's played the de-gazer game with men where they openly put their private parts in front of people. He also talks about placing his own private parts in a female's hair. This is pornography, and he wants a seat at the table where he would be in charge of all our children. I stand up and say no. I say that he is clearly not fit or qualified to run for a seat for our education school board, and quite frankly, he's a danger to our children. So I'm sorry, I will not allow this for our district because our children deserve better. I really support you, Ruthie Knowles, and Garland, and Egan. I really wish you guys continued success. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Keith. I am a husband and a father of 2 in the district. We'll make sure I get that right so I don't have any awkward moments when I go home. So I want to talk about 3 things: fear, food, faith. Okay. So first of all, I want to commend the board for your culturally responsive education. Your stance on that is very, very important. But I can understand that there's a little bit of fear around that, around people thinking it might impact their whiteness and having that erased. And I get it. It's been an experience of so many people for so many years. Marginalized populations have had their history erased. For example, I'm ashamed to admit this, but Mount Rushmore is both a engineering marvel and also a desecration of sacred land. Okay. So just want to understand that. So second thing, food, we talk about salad, right? We are a salad nation, salad district. That means you put everything together. You have lettuce, you have tomatoes, you have onions. I don't know who thought about that, but you have all these things in there, right? It doesn't mean you put it all there that the lettuce disappears. It's still there. And you need all of it to make a nutritious body, a nutritious nation, all right? Third thing, I'll speak on my faith real quick. I usually try to just walk it out, but now I got to talk it out, okay? So I'm a Christian, and we get a bad rap because a lot of times what's happened is we've taken the Christ out of Christian. And so I will point my fellow brothers and sisters to the book of Revelation that talks about around the throne of God, every nation, tribe, and tongue be represented. That's God's picture of heaven, and why can't we have it here now? Thank you.
I want to start by acknowledging Indigenous People Day, the very people whose land that we stand on. I also want to state that I believe Black Lives Matter. I believe in full LGBTQ rights, that everyone deserves health care, that the world is bigger than America, that people and places are made better by diversity. I don't think that's radical. I think humanity feels radical to people who are inhumane. I am here to do my part to give voice to those who are silenced, bullied, and pushed to the wayside. We have heard from folks to claim no politics and yet continue to associate with white supremacist militia groups like FEC United. We will not forget the intimidation tactics of FEC United and their affiliated militia group, UADF. Now, these are the same people who sit and advocate for the silence of BIPOC and LGBTQIA. Turning Point USA has been brought in today by CPAN, yet another racist and anti-LGBTQ organization who is anything but non-political. We've now devolved to false information going viral that result in bomb threats to 3 elementary schools and 2 administration buildings. Scott Graves has falsely denied planning or receiving support from the members of FEC United. I also have photos of him pointing out students in drag in Grandview's yearbooks to adults with no affiliation to Grandview, endangering the mental and physical well-being of these kids. Steve McKenna has wildly inappropriate depictions in his book, including a game called D-Gazer and putting his private parts in a young woman's hair without her knowledge or consent. Despite these disgusting admissions, he insists that his book is great for young kids. No amount of self-reported remorse makes it appropriate for young children. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, board, for listening to us. I really wish we had this many people at every school board meeting. So whatever you did to mark it tonight, great job. Let's make it happen more often. I also love that the strategic plan was what we talked about tonight, that everybody in this room got to hear the commitments that the district is making to make sure that our students are being served in our communities. I would like to call out Mr. Graves for his behavior in some of the CPAN meetings I have seen him attend and participate in, where he has held up pictures of yearbooks and called out students' award-winning work and then claimed not to be targeting LGBTQIA students. That is despicable and unacceptable to call out any sort of student when you are not their parent and you do not have their parents' consent to speak about them. Secondly, the other candidate, Mr. McKenna, what I heard is a depiction of a game he played, and I don't think that's a game. I think that is sexual assault. So for CPAN to be supporting characters who are engaging in this type of behavior and say that their platform is the excellence of this district is mind-blowing to me. I would also like to say if our concern is students accessing pornographic material in the school's online library, I think we're not giving our students enough credit for how they might be accessing pornographic material. In talking to all of my kids in my home, they don't use the online library and they are very quick on their phones to find whatever they might need to be looking for. So I would encourage everybody to make sure you have parental controls and don't worry about the school library. I think you're good.
Robert McMahon, Vincent Scudella, Brian McKinney.
Not sure if this microphone will reach my height or if I need to bend over a little bit more, but my name is Robert McMahon, and I'm a proud parent of a CCSD graduate, now a junior in college and doing great. And his text to me said, "Thanks for representing tonight." I'm a husband, a father, a community member, a former member of PTCO, scout leader, Destination Imagination coach. But all these things pale in comparison to the time and the hours and the energy the superintendent, the staff, Madam President, Madam Directors, you have given so much of your time, whole lives, for the work that you've done is so important to us. We started looking in 2008 for a district. We lived in a neighboring district. Our son was 4, and we were looking for the best place, the best schools, and we researched and we found there was really only one place, and it was Cherry Creek School District. And ever since then, what we found is that it's only gotten better. And it's so wonderful to be a part of a district that has hundreds of languages, 56 languages in this school alone, 110 countries represented, people from every walk, life, shape, look, feel, perspective, background. And that rocks, man. I'm not going to talk about the haters. I thank you, Coach Prime. Give roses to the people while they're still here and with us. Thank you, Chair McDonald, Director McDonald. Thank you for the people who are here tonight. Thank you for your dedication to excellence. Thank you for your service to all students. Thank you for your leadership, dedication, commitment to mitigating the mental health crisis. Thank you for the Traverse Academy that's coming in 2 weeks from today, the ribbon cutting this week. Thank you for watching out for all people. We know there's a lot out there and we can't say it all, but thank you for your commitment to the equity in education, access, and opportunities for all our students. Not incivility, but inclusivity. Thank you.
So I want to thank you folks for the time to share some thoughts. I'm an employee over at Overland. I'm a school health professional, and I'm here today to just simply ask that you continue to move forward with promoting policies that promote equity, as well as diversity and inclusion, because failure to do so can put a lot of student safety at risk. I've been working with adolescents in the mental health field for about the last 15 years or so. And I know when teens are isolated and when they're left to feeling hopeless and disconnected and isolated, it promotes feelings of just there's no hope, there's no light. And when that happens, it becomes really easy and very tempting for them to fall into things like bullying, harassment, self-harm, suicide, school shootings. I mean, just the worst stuff imaginable right there. And I just don't want any student of any kind of identification, BIPOC, LGBTQIA, like none of that stuff, to feel isolated and to feel like there is no hope. So that is why I'm coming before you to please continue to pursue policies that promote equity, that promote inclusion, that promote diversity. The kids need it. Their lives depend on it, because I see it firsthand every day, whether the policy is good or bad, when they come to my office and they got stuff to unpack. And so I just plead again to please keep these factors in mind with how you craft your policies, because lives depend on it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm a parent in this district. Earlier, Mr. Chad Brown said, do your research. So I did my research. So we have this divisive Colorado Parent Advocacy Network bringing in outside divisive political organizations. An organization whose school campus leader once said after 3 Black students were shot and killed, if they would have killed 4 more N-words, we would have had the week off. This is the organization that the Parent Advocacy Network has chosen to partner with. This is who they chose to bring into our community. Not surprising, given the leader of the Colorado Parent Advocacy Network had to be restrained by campus security for going after a parent at one of our CCSD school board meetings last year. Totally out of control. Children are watching. Perhaps if one claims to support SROs, they should start with controlling their own out-of-control behavior at school board meetings. If one claims to support teachers, perhaps you shouldn't target and attack them. And if you purport to support parent voice, your goal shouldn't be to intimidate parents, students, and this community. We recently had threats to 3 elementary schools as a result of these types of outside organizations shitting up hate online. Did we hear anything from the book banning board candidates Scott Graves and Stephen McKenna? They're running on school safety. We heard nothing. Silence. And did I mention that the Colorado Parent Advocacy Network is also partnering and supporting Scott Graves and Steve McKenna, a slate that seems to not have any idea about what's going on inside of our schools. This is all politics. And you know what? It's the worst kind of politics because it harms children. We don't need it on our board. We say no to politics, no to hate, no to racism, no to anti-Semitism, no to homophobia, no to CPAN, and no to book banning arm the teachers candidates Scott Graves and Steve McKenna. Good evening.
Jennifer Gibbons.
I'm Jennifer Gibbons. I'm a mother of 4. I'm a doctor of audiology. I'm a founder and board vice president of Heritage Heights Academy. I also serve on the district accountability committee. I would like to address comments given by Director Garland at the last candidate forum. When discussing a charter school, you said that charter schools usually do better than a neighborhood school because we get to choose who we have in our school, which was incorrect. And you corrected yourself by saying, well, they do have a lottery, but the people who can understand the lottery need to have a upper level education or have a middle classness. I really hope you weren't talking about our Black and brown families in our district. If you were, that's incredibly racist. Not only is it racist, but it's incorrect. And I invite you to roam the halls of Heritage Heights Academy. Our diversity is our best feature. I'd also like to discuss the root cause that has been identified by the district of our plummeting academics and our disproportionality as being the teachers having implicit bias and they are not able to correctly give the scope and sequence of the content. That again is incorrect and incredibly insulting to our innovative, smart, highly educated, highly paid, and happy to be here teachers. That's incredibly unfair and supplies a huge burden to our teachers to not only have to teach our kids their academic structure, but then have to address some implicit bias that may not even be there. Look for other root causes, such as family structures. There's plenty of data that suggests if there's not two parents in the home, that a child needs more supports. Please support our students and treat our students as the individuals they are, and do not put them into groups for which they may not belong.
Thank you. Your time is up. President Bates, that's all for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig. Again, I'd like to thank our speakers. While this is not a question and answer session, we have listened and we've made notes. I would ask that you please sit down and relax. We are not quite finished with our meeting. All right, it is this time in our meeting that we look at our consent agenda. Before we move on to consideration of the resolutions, are there any resolutions board members would like to pull or to discuss? Seeing that there is no discussion, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, resolutions 23.1 through 23.10.12.
I move to approve the consent agenda, resolution 23.10.1, 23.12, 2310.12.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Is there is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Directors Allen.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Egan.
Aye.
Garland.
Aye.
McDonald.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes, and the consent agenda carries. The only other business we have this evening is to announce our next Board of Education meeting, Monday, November 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at Horizon Middle School, 3981 South Reservoir Road, Aurora, Colorado. At this time, thank you again for attending tonight's meeting, and please keep yourselves and your loved ones safe. I hope that you and your families can enjoy some time together during fall break. Remember, the best way to be informed is to attend meetings like this, meetings at your schools, or district family engagement meetings. May I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Directors Allen.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Egan.
Aye.
Garland.
Aye.
McDonald.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes, and this meeting is adjourned.